Hey, 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 Lake Show, Kobe shirt. The Hoops Rehab Show back
What's up,
in
guys?
back ready for another episode with the Lakers win. Luka's return. A lot of big things happening. Got the game injury doc, Dr. Evan Jeffries, and my man on the right, Eric B. Mack, always bringing all the stats and all the Lakers info and NBA info.
Got you guys. What up, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good night.
And like we always say, drop some comments in any of the on Twitter, YouTube, or Instagram, and we'll try to answer them throughout the show. But man, hell of a game, hell of a return for
Woo!
Luka.
Wow, man.
At the beginning, seeing him kind of tear up with the tribute video. I mean, he looked like he didn't want to be there. Like it was just pretty emotional for him. So it took him a couple minutes to kind of get going. But once he got going, dude was on fire as advertised, getting cheered the whole time from the Dallas crowd, which is crazy. So what do you think of the game?
Oh yeah, it was interesting. I don't think I've seen too many tribute videos, but I noticed that when they announced the starters, they announced the four other starters of the Lakers, and then before announcing Luca, they played the video. So I thought that was
Yeah,
kind of cool. Sheesh, I felt like I was getting a little tear-eyed because seeing Luca, obviously emotional.
yeah,
This was his first time, obviously first time playing in Dallas and
yeah, for
first
sure.
time back in Dallas in general. So we knew it was going to be an emotional night, an emotional roller coaster type night, but obviously he rose to the occasion and he led his team along with LeBron James to
Yeah,
an
man.
all important victory.
Yeah, no, I mean, crazy night because like I've never seen in the history of probably the NBA where a guy gets traded first time back. I mean, there's some cheering. Usually, people are pretty excited, but every single time he got the ball, the Mavs fans were just going irate, cheering for him.
It's
He
crazy,
gets
man.
the free throw line. They're saying "Fire Nico" chants all over the
I know.
crowd. I mean,
It
Nico's in
was.
Nico's in the tunnel, like hiding out the whole game. Right,
Mm-hmm.
the TV's panning to him. They're panning to Luca. I mean, just craziness, man. So wild night. But the most important thing, Lakers got the much needed win, and they are now
Yep.
one win away from third
That's what
seed.
matters.
They're at least guaranteed in the top six, so they're going to get that week off during the play-in, which is super important because what's happened in the last 5 years with the Lakers, basically 4 or 5 years, or since the play-in inception, the Lakers have been in the play-in. So this is the
Right.
first time they're not in the play-in, which is freaking crazy to say.
Oh yeah, it's remarkable. I tweeted it right when the game ended. I was like, I totally forgot. I'm like, damn, that's right. Since the inception, as you mentioned, of the play-in, Lakers have either not made the playoffs 1 year, that was the Russell Westbrook year, or had been in the play-in all three other times. And the last time they
Yeah,
were not in any kind of play-in setting was the 2020 year, and we all know what happened that season. So, right?
championship. Yep, yep. So good signs. Again,
Excuse
the
me.
biggest thing is getting that top three seed, and you can tell by what JJ Redick said in his press conference. They got one more, and they just need one more victory, and then they'll be ready because he's not satisfied with obviously the top six,
No,
and
no, no.
I don't think Laker fans are satisfied with that either. So secure the top three seed because we all know how important that is in terms of trying to win the championship. So let's get it.
Yeah, let's get it. And I mean, just to kind of take a step or two back, going back to like the Lucas, just obviously welcome back, welcome home ceremony tonight. It was the thing that's like so crazy about it is because I'm like comparing it to like when LeBron James went back to Cleveland. It
Yeah,
was just, I mean, it's the exact opposite,
yeah,
and it was just so different because Luca was traded
yeah,
in his
yeah,
prime without really asking for it or knowing about it. And I think that's what is so unique about the situation. And that's why we saw what we saw tonight. I mean, for God's sake, they had T-shirts for Luca. It felt like it was like almost like a Laker home game in a
yeah.
sense, in some aspects. So I don't know if we'll ever see something like that ever again. Obviously, the years to come when he plays there, they're going to always give him a warm welcome. But I think we're all going to remember where we were tonight because it's just one of those nights you just won't forget because it's probably not going to happen again. And so um, it was a spectacle. At the end of the day, though, as we just mentioned, they had to get a win. They got it. One more game. We're not satisfied with the top six. We need to get a top three seed. It's very well documented what that means in the grand scheme of things, right? And so one
Yep.
more. Let's get it Friday. We'll see if I know we're going to talk a little bit about the schedule and standings. We'll see what Houston does, but yeah, I mean, what do you think as far as today's game? What did you like? What stood out?
Yeah, I mean, I like the game plan from the beginning. You knew the ball was going to be in Luka's hands. There's no doubt about it. The Lakers players were encouraging that. LeBron was feeding into that. Everybody had Luka's back,
Yep,
and then once he got a three down in the beginning and really started getting loaded, he was on fire, right? I mean, but he had 30. Was it 31 at halftime?
I believe so. Yeah,
Basically.
it was 31.
So
Yeah,
he was, I mean, he was gunning for that 50. I know I saw JJ talk about it. We wanted to see him go for 50. So that was obviously, they really wanted him to go for as much as he could. He played, to me, in my opinion, he played well within a game plan of not trying to overshoot it. He was just
absolutely.
hot. I mean, what was he? 16 for 28. So that's pretty damn good
Seven
percentage,
for
right?
10 from
So
three. So
yeah, 7 for 10 from three. Um, so definitely played within his limits and to be expected on a return like that. Um, the crazy thing about the game to me is like we forget this was Anthony Davis's first game against the Lakers, and
I
there's just
know.
no talk about that, right? And I don't know if it was me watching the game, but Anthony Davis looked not interested in this game whatsoever. Like, I mean, this is my opinion. I thought he would come out kind of like trying to dunk on somebody, try to get in somebody's face, kind of be a little aggressive, like, yeah, you wanted to trade me, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
But I didn't see that from him. So I was kind of shocked in terms of not seeing that aggression from Anthony Davis. I think it's hard for him too because he doesn't really have any. They don't have any ball handler playmakers since Kyrie went down.
Yeah.
So they're not even starting a point guard right now. So it's like it's hard for them to create for Anthony Davis during this time, and so it was kind of disappointing just seeing him out there, and it's hard for him to kind of get his own shot off like that. But otherwise, Rui back in the starting lineup. You know how I feel about that starting lineup, but Rui in there just spreads out the offense, allows shooters all around Luka, especially when they go with a small ball lineup with Rui at the five or LeBron at the five or whatever you want to call it. I Austin Reeves had more of a quiet game, but I think it was just more of like being a third fiddle in this game and just allowing Luka to do what he needed to do.
Absolutely.
So, because Austin Reeves has been on fire this whole time, the last couple of games. So, he did have that putback dunk though, and that was legit.
Oh, I saw that.
So, it was good to see the Lakers kind of come through, and LeBron kind of came through in the second half and really started dominating and got up to 27 points in the game. So, great game all around, especially towards the fourth quarter, just to put the clamps down on defense and only give up 97 points.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely a few things that you said I want to touch on. I mean, yeah, Luca was just an assassin tonight, and it was well within the offense. He was comfortable. That's where he played for 7 years, right? He's used to that gym. When he played the Mavs the first time around in LA, he was a little tight, I thought, and it was just obviously just after the trade,
Yeah.
and so I knew obviously he was going to be with us for a couple months and he was going to get acclimated with the system.
Mhm.
And being in Dallas was going to be different than that first showing against LA. So he truly was amazing, on a night that began with tears and ended in triumph. And so it was amazing to see. He obviously had 31 in the first half. I think they kind of adjusted a little bit. And so that's when LeBron, honestly, just we're going to talk about it later on tonight. But I mean, the things that he does, he just took over that fourth quarter. It
Yeah.
got a little scary there. Klay Thompson hit that
Yeah.
3-pointer to put Dallas up by 2. They had come back from being down 13, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. but LeBron put his team on his back, picked up his brothers, and really built that lead. And then Luka finished it off. So it was kind of like a Luka sandwich. Like the beginning of the game, end of the game was amazing. Talking a little bit about AD, Anthony Davis. Yeah, we love Anthony Davis. He brought us a championship. He's an amazing player. But a night like tonight, like we have to be honest, we saw games like that where he should be so dominant, right? Lakers had nothing really for him inside. But I think they were like force feeding him a little bit too much. I think you hit the nail on the head. Not having a true point guard set him up really is what kind of hurt him tonight.
Yeah.
He wasn't really emotional. You never know. It could have been a weird situation for him too. And maybe when he comes to LA and plays, he didn't obviously suit up the last game, and that obviously most likely won't be till next season. Maybe he'll have his moment too. But yeah, I mean, just looking at his stat line, 13, 11. Yeah, he had to have a big night for them to even have a chance against the Lakers, and he did it. And so feel bad for Dallas, but they were the team that was in front of us at this time, and we had to get that win. Lakers did it. Wasn't easy at all, back to back. Dallas hadn't played since Saturday. They were well rested, so I knew it was going to be tough. I was a little worried about the Lakers getting gassed at the end of the game, but obviously that wasn't the case. And again, they won it. Rui, like you said, he has just been like that trade did wonders for him too. I don't know what it is, but he has just fit in so nicely. He didn't play yesterday, so that's one thing we got to think about too, right?
Mm-hmm.
They played OKC down to that 7-minute mark, and he wasn't even there. So I very happy about this team right now. Obviously, got to get one more, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, big game on Friday against the Rockets, and the Rockets. Do they play their full starters, full minutes? It didn't seem like they did that today against the Clippers. So I can see them maybe suiting up for one more game just so they're not off for such a long time.
Yes.
So I could see them maybe coming out Friday with their full lineup, and I wouldn't be surprised. They're playing the Lakers, right? They
Yeah,
probably want to.
you
They
just
probably
know
want to
it.
prove. They probably want to prove to the league that they can beat the Lakers. So we got to be prepared for what their best shot is on Friday.
Yep.
And not depend on getting a win on Sunday. Because if you can get a win on Friday, you're resting everybody on Sunday,
Oh,
and
yeah.
you have a lot more time off in between the play-in and to the playoffs. So one more
Absolutely.
victory would be solid for them.
Yeah, Houston, if they don't play their players and like they obviously start the playoffs next weekend, they would have gone 2 full weeks
Yeah,
without really playing anyone. And it's nice to get rest and all, but there gets to a point where it's like rest versus rust. And I think for a young team that hasn't been there before, I gotta think that they're gonna play their guys. At least I don't know about everybody. Maybe like Van Fleet might be out, but they're gonna play some more of their guys than they did tonight.
for sure.
I know I'm kind of like been trolling like the Clippers a little bit on Twitter, but I feel like they're just getting so damn fortunate. Like I feel like they're playing well, no doubt. Like they are on a tear, but I feel like their last like handful of games, they're like just playing just the C team of
Yeah,
every opponent. And
yeah,
so that being said, I'm not too worried about them. Obviously, if we see them in the playoffs, that's another story. But yeah, we'll be interested to see. But Lakers got to get Friday so that they can get, we talked about it last night, that full 8-9 days of rest heading into the
sure.
playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, man. Let's get it. So I kind of wanted to get into this trade a little bit more, right? I mean, we've all
Good
talked
trade.
about it. It's been about 2 months, but
Yep.
does this trade go down as the worst franchise trade of all time? Like just as a whole franchise, like to think about the magnitude of the trade. You have a guy that's what in his 7th year or 8th year. I'm trying to remember. I think
Yeah.
it's 7. 25 years old. Like everybody in Dallas adores him, loves him, worships him. Kids want to be him. And you're just
Yep.
going to trade that player away for whatever reasoning that you have. Doesn't even matter who you get back. The fact that you don't even put him in the open market and just trade him in the middle of the night, right? And I'm not trying to disrespect Anthony Davis, but you get back Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and one one first round pick. I, I mean, Rudy Gobert went for 5 first round picks.
I know.
Like,
I know.
so, like, to me, I was trying to compare some trades, and a lot of the per se bad trades are like more of the draft night trades. So, like Charlotte trading Kobe to the Lakers, but at the time, you have no idea who Kobe Bryant is as far as like, is he going to be a franchise player? Is he going to be the best player ever for the Lakers? Right? Like, nobody knows that. Scottie Pippen on draft night, Dirk on draft night. It's hard for me to ever put like a draft night trade as the worst trade of a franchise. You just had bad luck, right? It's like drafting somebody. You drafted Sam Bowie and not Michael Jordan, right? Yes, that's a terrible move, but I don't think you can put that out there as like the worst trades. So, do you,
No.
any trades do you come to mind that's worse than this trade?
It's just so there's so many levels to it. Obviously, with hindsight being a factor, there's a couple that come to mind. And the reason I say there's levels to it is because of Luka like being just top 2 or 3 player in the
Mm-hmm.
league at the time,
Yeah.
and then it being a surprise. Obviously, it totally altering what Dallas looks like. I think the story still has to be written. Obviously, we'll see with Kyrie coming back and AD
Yeah.
and see how they what
Yeah.
what they amount to, and then obviously we'll see with Luka too. But a couple of deals that come to mind is another actually 2 Laker trades, ironically. So one would be Pau Gasol. Um, that one obviously
For
again
who?
with yeah Kwame Brown.
He ain't got no post moves, according to Stephen A. He got
No,
small hands.
he's like no disrespect, but he ain't got no post moves. He's terrible. He got small hands. He can't play a game of
Yeah.
basketball, but no disrespect. So that one was obviously a little different because there was some rumors about it. But
Yeah.
regardless, and obviously Memphis had kind of hit a plateau too with Powell. So they thought that, and they ended up getting Marcus All actually at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
So
um,
not terrible of a
yeah,
trade,
not
right?
not terrible, but Lakers would do that trade 100 times out of 100. They got
Yeah.
three finals appearances, 2 championships, and so that one stands out. Another one would be way back in the 70s. It's with obviously with the Lakers getting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
I kind of always wondered how did that what happened with that trade, and basically like what I was doing a little bit of research on it. Like Kareem was just kind of similar to this day and age. He wanted to play in a bigger city. He wanted to be more in of a bigger market. And
Yeah.
so for those that think that has just been recent, like that was happening in the 70s. And so Lakers, I kind of wrote it down here. So Kareem requested a trade. Lakers gave up Elmore Smith and Brian
That's
Winters
right.
in a couple.
I was like, I think I remember Elmore Smith, but I couldn't remember the other ones.
Yeah, Brian Winters. And Brian Winters was actually the first coach ever for the Vancouver Grizzlies. But
That's right.
yeah. So, and I was reading at that time, it was like seen as like a decent haul
Mm-hmm.
because Kareem, it was like same thing as like now, right? There was not as much leverage. So
Yeah.
Kareem wanted to get traded. He only wanted to get traded to a handful of teams. So obviously, like with all things said and done, obviously it was a total one-sided trade.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then another one, sorry that I thought of too, and doesn't have to do with the Lakers, but with KG going to Boston,
Mm.
and so Boston obviously ended up winning a championship. Minnesota really, obviously, but other than last year, they hadn't been to the like they hadn't won a playoff series since KG was there,
Yeah.
and so Boston gave up Al Jefferson, Sebastian Telfair, and Gerald Green,
Yeah.
and one first round
Yeah.
pick that was top 3 protected. So
Uh,
yeah, so those are like 3 trades that like come
how
to mind.
how old was KG at the time? 30?
Yeah, he probably was about
Like
30.
around there. Like he had been playing for like 9, 10-ish seasons, I think. Or it might have been 28-ish. Um, but yeah, no, those trades kind of come to mind too. The only one I would also say is like the Nets trading for KG
He
and
was
Paul Pierce.
31.
He's 31. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, the
there you
Nets
go.
trading for Paul Pierce and KG. when they were way past their prime, right? Because they
Yep.
give up so many draft picks, and that kind of set the whole franchise back in general for years, right? Because they just weren't ever able to be good, and then just never really recouped for a while. So it's kind of like those ones came to mind, but obviously, superstar at 25.
Yeah, it's a
I
different game. It's
mean,
a different.
I guess it would have been like, I mean, obviously Shaq signed here as a free agent or whatever, but if Orlando just randomly traded him in the middle of the night, like in his prime, like during those seasons, right, or that last season or something like that, right? So, um, yeah, no, I think to me this will go down as the worst trade ever for a franchise, and I believe Nico's going to have a hard time continuing as GM with Dallas. I'm not saying that
Mm-hmm.
they won't give him one more year to see just how this looks, which they probably
Right.
will, but
Yeah.
the backlash that they're getting, it's almost just hard to continue your franchise when you got so much backlash from one person. And I think just the owner change obviously was huge because Cuban would have never allowed a trade like this. I mean,
No.
even if Luka somehow was like you heard that he didn't want to be there, he would work out a deal with Luka because he's that type of person, right? He's not going to just trade him in the middle of the night. So, yeah, to me, it's the worst trade ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it remains to be seen, but it is. If it's not number one, it's very
Up
much
there,
up
yeah.
there. But what about you guys listening? Any? Did we miss any? Is there any trades that you guys can think of? I know Lakers traded Shaq, right? You talked about Shaq. They
Yeah,
did trade him, and I know that was kind of inevitable. So that's
yeah,
never a good thing to trade a monster like that. Miami ended up winning a
yeah.
championship,
He
and
did. He did get a championship
Lakers
over there. So
Lakers had a couple about three bad seasons because of that. It didn't make the playoffs one year, and they were first round exits for 2 years before
yeah.
the Powell trade. So yeah,
But
um,
yeah, if anybody has any other trades that we're missing here, shoot a comment there, and we'll get to them. Yeah, man. Let's get into some standings and kind of playoff updates as the minute every single day matters, especially in this Western Conference. So where are we at? What's the update, Eric?
yeah. Sorry guys, I was actually going to mention the very first thing. I don't know if you guys saw that buzzer beater from Harrison Barnes. San Antonio shockingly beat Golden State tonight. Looks like
Yeah,
Barnes was interchanneling his former Warriors days, and he at the buzzer knocks the Warriors temporarily, at least, into the play-in. And so, as you said, it is like as tight as can be. Lakers, as we talked about. So obviously, OKC and Houston have 1 and 2 locked up. Lakers need one more to lock up that 3 seed, and we're pretty hopeful they do that. But then the 4 through the 8, it's one in the loss column. Actually, Denver is the 4 right now. Clippers 5, Memphis 6, Golden State 7, Minnesota 8. And so most teams have 2 to 3 games left, and there's still a lot that could happen. And that's because Minnesota or Memphis, for example, will play Minnesota and Denver. And Golden State will play the Clippers on the last game of the season. So
that'll
there's
be
so
huge.
many different tie-breaking scenarios. So like we're gonna like break our heads trying to figure out who's gonna get this because there's so much that can happen. And I know going into the last probably into the weekend, maybe Saturday, Sunday, we'll have a more of a kind of idea. Like if this happens, this team will be there. And if that
Yeah,
happens, this team will be there. But there's still so much that could happen. And I mean, this is what we love that it's coming
yeah,
down to this.
yeah. It's kind of wild right now. As I mean, you can't guarantee where they're at right now, but if this was the scenario, right, and the Lakers are playing Memphis at the 3-6, I think that's
Let's
a
end the
pretty
season right now. Let's
that's a
end the season right now.
I think that's a pretty good matchup for the Lakers. Um, but I would feel really bad for a team that has soared to new heights this year. Um, those Houston Rockets at the number
Oh, you
2
haven't
seed.
talked much about them as of late.
Not
Minnesota.
as of late.
What?
I'm trying to give them some
I'm kidding.
respect.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Um,
Yeah.
But right now, they would be theoretically matched up with the Golden State Warriors. And I think if there was a matchup of Houston and the Warriors, and I've said this many times on these on our show, that Golden State is going to have no issue beating. I mean, it's going to be a long series, but they would more than likely probably come out victors in that series. I just think they have too much veteran experience with Steph, with Draymond. Obviously, you had Jimmy. So I think in a playoff series, that's probably the worst case scenario for Houston to play the Warriors at 7.
Yep.
I mean, if we were going to have dream scenarios, I feel like if we can get the Warriors at the 4 or 5 with Denver, I think that is probably the best case scenario for them because then if they move on in that series, then they have to play OKC. And then we're looking at playing either Clippers, Memphis, or the Timberwolves, right? So it's kind of like in that scenario there. But yeah,
Yep.
what do you think?
What I was gonna ask you, like, bring out the crystal ball. So I'm assuming you're thinking Lakers are gonna end up at the 3, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So who on April? What's the date? April 9th, about 10 o'clock. Who does the doc think Lakers will be facing in the first round of the playoffs?
If I had to put my money on it, I think it's going to be the Timberwolves. I
Okay.
think Memphis has a really tough stretch of games, right? They're going to play Minnesota, right? So that's a huge game right there. They can play Denver, and they're going to play Dallas. So I think that just alone is going to be pretty tough. I could see them maybe going 1-2 in that scenario.
Yep.
So I think it'll be Minnesota, and I think the Warriors. I look at the Warriors' schedule. What are they? Who they got right now? They need to win 2 games, basically.
Yeah, they got 2 left. I know they play the Clippers the last game of the season,
Yeah,
and
so
then
they got
they
they got
got
Portland and Clippers. So I think those two. I mean, they should have beat the Spurs tonight, so that was a pretty
yeah,
bad
it's a
loss
big
for them.
yeah.
But if they get those 2 wins and Memphis goes 1-2, right, that pretty much put them in a would that put them in a tie because they're 1 game. No, they're in the same. They have same wins, so they'll put them 1 win ahead, right? So um,
Yeah,
it's
it's
going to be the tiebreaker stuff too is the crazy part, right? Like we don't know exactly how it's going to come up. There's probably going to be a 3-way tie at some point. It seems like it's kind of inevitable somewhere in here with those
yeah.
4 teams.
I would imagine.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, for example, Clippers were the 4 yesterday, and they
yeah,
won tonight, and they slipped to the 5. So
yeah,
that'll tell you that, like, right? You got to think, how is that possible? It's because of the tiebreaker situation. So when Clippers, Warriors, and Nuggets were all tied,
yeah.
Clippers took the tiebreaker. But since now it's just Denver and Clippers, Denver actually trumps um, the
Yeah,
Clippers.
if it's just them 2 together, yeah. So
Yeah,
it breaks down. If it gets to 3 people, it gets to 3 teams. It's like gets a little different.
exactly. So that's why
Um,
it's so hard to predict. So you're saying
yeah,
Timberwolves, and yeah, I don't know. I think that's a good call. I just don't even want to put the energy of saying the Warriors,
yeah.
but yeah, like if Warriors win their last 2, I they there's actually if they win their last 2, there's still no guarantee they would be in the top 6.
That's what
Obviously,
I'm
it just
saying.
depends.
So
Yeah,
it's still going to be tough, right? So tonight was a huge loss for them. So if they would have won that, they'd probably be in a obviously better case scenario. Um, but if they are in the play-in at that 7, they are probably going to be dangerous in the first round against those Rockets. So I would be worried a little bit if I was Houston.
oh yeah, yep. And then in terms of just like looking ahead of the games for tomorrow, before I talk a little bit of something about the East, just to carry over from our conversation last night. But yeah, so tomorrow Minnesota and Memphis, obviously a
Yeah,
huge game,
huge game.
playoff implications, and that's the only game tomorrow that really matters in the West. But as far as I'm just going to jump to the East real quick because we had talked about yesterday that we were thinking like it was pretty solidified, the 5 and the 6, Milwaukee and Detroit.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, I got a notification that ESPN is going to air the Detroit Milwaukee game on Sunday. And I thought to
Mm,
myself, okay, that's an interesting choice. And then I looked and I realized Detroit and Milwaukee play each other the last two games of the year. And
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
so
they're even though they're 2 games up on them, those 2 games will be huge. Okay.
yeah, yep. So if so, basically, Detroit owns a tiebreaker on Milwaukee. It looks
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and so if they go into those last two games and it's still a two game lead, Detroit still has a shot to get to the five.
Oh,
Now
so Detroit has to lose one more, which they play. Who's it they play coming up?
they play the Knicks
Knicks.
tomorrow, and
Okay. Okay.
yeah, and Bucks play this. So, and then again, I don't
Yeah.
know if it's going to be important for these teams, the 5 or 6. I really don't know. It might be more important to go into the playoffs healthy. I would
Yeah.
just say when you're the 6, you're avoiding Boston in that second round. And so, I mean, you're going to have to play them eventually, but that's one thing. If you're the 5, you play Indiana first round, who is playing good basketball. I'm not going to, be too disrespectful against them, but that seems like a better path to the Eastern Conference Finals versus playing New York and then Boston. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just a
That's a tough. Yeah, the
quick
six
tip.
seed would be tough.
Yeah, quick tidbit, because I know we pretty much last night we were saying that the seeding is pretty concrete, but it looks like there's still some chances of some small movement.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, man, it's it's like 2 to 3 games ago, and it's still we have no idea. And that's the fun part about these playoffs and in the play-in, adding that kind of like wrinkle in the schedules where you feel. Um, I mean, I remember before the play-in, it was like teams are packing in like a week or two before. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There wasn't really much to play for. They didn't care as much to get into the top 6, 7. You know what I mean? Like so now
Yep.
it's like you want to get into that top 6 because otherwise you're in the play-in and you got to play more games, right? You don't get that actually rest period.
Nope.
So I think it's for sure the NBA's done a good job with that, and it's worked, right? I know we complain about the play-in, but at the same time, you can tell that it's definitely brought a competitive edge to the regular season, especially towards the end.
Oh yeah. I mean, every year is going to be different. Obviously, this year we could have done without Dallas and Sacramento. Like it would have been
Yes.
fine. But it does add a little wrinkle to it. At least it's two like watchable teams. I think it'll be a
Mhm.
fun game. Even though it's a 9-10, and then the winner of that will play the loser of the 7-8. And I think they will. I mean, depending on who that is, like if it's like a Memphis or something, I could see it being a contest. And so,
Yeah.
that being said, the Phoenix Suns are officially eliminated. I know we talked like a week or two ago, wondering if Kevin Durant will ever
Yeah.
wear a Phoenix jersey. It's not going to happen this year, and right, we were saying we don't think so.
Yeah.
So
Nah,
this is even more.
he's. I think that was his last time ever in the Suns uniform when he unfortunately got injured and sprained his ankle.
Yep.
There's just been too much talk. They were trying to trade him during the trade deadline, and I think they will be working out some sort of trade for him to get out of there. Um, I don't know personally why that hasn't worked, but ever since they got Bradley Beal, it has been the worst case scenario for that team. They fired Frank Vogel, and that did nothing. They hired Mike Budenholzer, still has done nothing for that Phoenix team. So they've had a struggle for years, and it you start to. I mean, hey, I like Devin Booker's game, but like,
Mm-hmm.
when do you start to question whether or not Devin Booker's the guy in Phoenix, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like he's a great player, but like, what is going on where they add these players and it just hasn't worked? I think part of it is like they added these 3 big players together, and then just the bench around them has been just horrible, right? They have
Yeah.
no talent
Terrible.
whatsoever, and just no money to pay people. So I think that's part of the issue right there. But hey, Devin Booker was in the finals years back, and you thought it was, they played Milwaukee, and you're like, hey, this is the up and coming team, and then they go ahead and fire Monty Williams, or it's like I I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the Phoenix Suns and how they're ran. So, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's just another example of the greatness of Chris Paul. We talked about him last night. Like
Yeah.
Devin Booker was at his best when Chris Paul was on the team, and
Yeah.
I think that's happened for a lot of players, like
Yeah.
Griffin, um, and
Well,
one guy that stands out, right? And so, not that Booker, I mean, he was great on Team USA this past summer. He was a staple of that team that won gold. But yeah, I think it was just the wrong fit with those three guys, and they had literally, I mean, they had no depth, and so other than that, I mean, we'll have to see what the rest of his career looks like. I think he's still young and he still
yeah.
has a lot to give, but I
Yeah.
think he was a little bit handcuffed with this crop of superstars.
That's a great point because I remember last year, I like beginning of the year, I remember I was tweeting this out all the time. Is like, how is Phoenix going to actually win games without a point guard? Like they went into
Yep,
last year's roster
true.
with Devin. They put Devin Booker as the point guard, and I'm like, dude, you can't win in the NBA without having a point guard. And then this year, it's like, okay, they get Tyus Jones, and he's a okay. He's more of a bench
Yeah,
player. He's a
yeah,
decent
he's
player,
serviceable. Yeah,
but he's not like a good point guard. And when you got Bradley Beal, their shooter, Kevin Durant, shooter, scorer, Booker, shooter, scorer, like three of those same players that don't know how to like run the offense and facilitate as much, it's just not going to work. I mean, look at the Lakers. We have basically three facilitators, the total opposite. Three facilitators that can get their own bucket whenever they want. Right? You got
100%.
Luka, LeBron. They can always play point. They're always going to get their teammates involved. And then you got AR, who does essentially the same thing at a smaller version than those two. If you don't have anybody that can facilitate on your team, you're not going anywhere. And I think that's one of the reasons why they just never worked with that group there.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. Like those three players, while obviously they had some different skill sets, but there were so many similarities, and they didn't have anybody to distribute them the ball, and obviously it was a big fail, like no question about
Yeah,
it. They
yeah,
did the first year. They got to the second round of the playoffs. They lost to Denver, tough series. You thought maybe they were kind of like turning that corner. Last year, they got swept in the first round of the playoffs to Minnesota. And this year, they were a complete disaster. And so, unless you're going to bring back the same team and probably get the same result, I just can't see that happening. And we'll see where Kevin Durant's next destination will be, because most likely he'll be gone.
yeah, for sure. All right, let's
Anyways,
see. I
I
wanted
didn't
to
didn't
get
have the Suns on my bingo card, but I just was like, we had to bring them up because
We have to.
they,
I mean, we have to talk
yeah,
about them. They finally eliminated. Like I thought they were eliminated like two games ago.
I
So
know, yeah, all good.
yeah.
But anyways,
All right. So I was thinking about Luca. Obviously, Luca's return and what he's meant to Dallas, what he's meant to the league, and I kind of wanted to go back to because this year's been a little funky. Like he had his injury and then he got traded. But where does Luca rank in the NBA as far as top players in the NBA? Like, where would you put him right now on your list? If you had a top five, or is he not in your top five?
oh no, yeah, he's definitely in my top five. Because the way I kind of think of it is like, will I trade Luca for this particular player? And
Oh, oh, we can do that if you want to go through that.
yeah, I mean, we can, because I
Yeah.
think I'm pretty satisfied as far as like a Lakers fan. I mean, I think it's like Joker than Luca. I mean, I
Okay.
wouldn't trade I wouldn't trade him for Giannis if you're asking me. And he's a great
Okay.
player, and he's amazing, and he's
Yeah.
athletic. But I think he's like, little. I don't want. He's not what he was a few years ago, and I
Yeah.
know there's a lot that comes with that, but
Yep.
that's neither here nor
Yep.
there. Obviously, there's Tatum, there's Jokic, as we talked about. Obviously, SGA. I wouldn't trade him for SGA, even though I
Okay.
think he's the MVP.
So, would you trade him for Nikola Jokic? Would you trade him for Joker?
So this is a different case. I think Jokic is like the best player in the NBA, but I probably still wouldn't trade for him because he's 31.
Yeah,
Luka's
it's a little older.
26.
Yeah.
And so um, I don't, it's call me crazy, but I don't think I would.
Okay. So, based on that logic, what you're saying right now is that you're going to put Luka as the number one player in the NBA.
Man, I mean, I'm
That's what
obviously just,
that's what your logic is telling me.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like, like Tatum's like freaking amazing. And obviously would love to have him. He's, he's out there every game basically, right? I mean, he rolled his ankle. I thought he was going to be out the rest of the season, and he
Yeah.
came back in 2 seconds. Obviously, SGA is like amazing MVP type type season. He will win the MVP. And I don't know. I just seeing Luka the last 2 months, and I know it's probably like not the best night because it's like he just had like the most incredible evening.
Yeah.
But just his like how he makes his teammates better. He's obviously a prolific scorer. Um, he's like a sneaky, like he's a little bit of a sneaky defender too, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
he kind of like blocks some shots. Gets a couple steals a game. It feels like, and so I don't know. I mean, I was kind of thinking about this question. I mean, what about yourself? Is there where do you
Uh,
rank him? Definitely. I mean, definitely top two or
so,
three in the
yeah.
NBA for
So,
sure.
if I had to put a ranking out right now, I would have the Joker one, I would have SGA two, and then I would have Luca three. And
Okay.
then if I wanted to round out the top five, I would go Jason Tatum four and Giannis five. So that'd be my top five. Um, and half of it's based on just like Joker. I mean, if we're barring out age and all that stuff, and just over the next 5 years of having somebody that plays at an MVP caliber every single year, that's Joker. And so I'm gonna give
Yep.
him that. I'm gonna give him the number one spot with that. And then SGA
Triple
is just
double.
SGA is young. He's 26 years old, and he's
Mm-hmm.
been coming into his own the last 3 4 years, right? Where he's just been really stepping up his game to a whole nother level, and then now to an MVP level. So I think he's definitely there in that conversation. And then I think Luca now. I think when after this season, imagine if the Lakers win the championship with Luca. Like, how big will that be for him in his career and just where he ranks in the NBA? Because then he'll just go into next season full, like take the reins off him, let him run the show. Like he'll be the full deal, and that could be like more of that MVP type of season.
Yep.
And I think in order for him to really be the number one player in the league, you have to win an MVP.
Yeah,
Like
that's true.
you have to win one, right? So if we
Yep.
think, Nikola has one, SGA is about to have one
We'll
probably.
have one.
Giannis has one,
Giannis.
right? Tatum does not, right? We talked about this other show, and like I don't know if he's
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to get one of those either. Um, and then you would have, the other people if you rounded out the teams, like LeBron's still in the top 6 7, obviously. Steph Curry's in that
Steph.
6 7.
Yeah.
So, and they've all won MVPs. So to me, like in order for Luca to be the top player in the league, or at least top two, he's going to have to win an MVP eventually.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Because when you're thinking of like a best player of this era or of this like year, season or two, it's usually like somebody that's won MVP. I think like some of the up and coming obviously players are Anthony Edwards, um, Wemby obviously
Yeah,
is an
yeah,
interesting one. I was going to pose, would you trade Luca for Wemby? But I know it's tough now with you think about injuries and his health and all that, and so
yeah.
that
And I
remains to
think
be seen.
I think that was a fluke, and he's been relatively really healthy in his first 2 seasons. That just
Yep,
came kind
true.
of out of nowhere. And I think he's going to take about 4-ish years to be held in the same conversation as those players, right? To be that top three player in the league. And I think he'll get there. But the number one thing is he has to turn his team into a winning team. And San Antonio was doing better this year. They just weren't Um, they didn't get to that level yet, right? So I think if he can turn that team into a winning team, Wemby's going to be top. I mean, he's
Oh yeah,
probably top 10 right now.
yeah,
It's just a matter
definitely.
of him kind of creeping into that top 5 range too. So
Yeah, oh, I
yeah,
agree.
no,
Yeah,
I mean
he's
it's an interesting conversation, right? You can go everywhere with it. I like the argument of who you would trade. You know, it's like who would you trade or who would you start your franchise with? So that always factors in age. So that kind of skews your ranking on the player because you're
yeah,
gonna
it's not
rank
exactly.
Joker a little bit lower because you're like, hey, he's 30 and he probably is only gonna play like 5 years based on how he cares so much about the NBA right now. So you could just see him retiring like without anything. It wouldn't be like retirement tour. He'd just be like, I retired. I'm done like
Yeah.
3 years into it and just be like, wait,
Oh
Joker's
yeah.
retired at 34? Yep, he's done.
I could see something like
Um,
that. Yeah, I could
yeah,
totally see it. Yeah,
Joker's not playing to 40 and shit. Like he's not gonna be like 38 years old, like coming off the bench or anything like that. So yeah, if you factor age, it does change it a little bit, but it's interesting to see where he stands though. But he's definitely a top player in this league that you would never usually trade a player like that for. So
yeah. Still pinch myself. No, definitely.
yeah.
Like you, just like you said, if you're doing like a game of who would you start a franchise with or who would you trade for and this and that, it's always not going to technically be the same group as or same order as like best player because, like you said, you factor in age, um, and obviously like you're projecting a player to have so many years left, and so that makes it always interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, but speaking of age and somebody that's like beating father time right now, LeBron Raymond James. Raymond? I don't even know how you
Raymond.
Raymond.
Uh, Man, it. How do I describe this? There's always Father Time has always been that like oh you can't beat Father Time, you can't it's inevitable, it's going to happen. What does LeBron's Father Time ever look like? Like he's literally in his 22nd season, averaging 24.5, 7.9 rebounds, 8.3 assists. He's got his team as a top 3 team in the West at this point. He has played 68 games total, which is still getting above the 65 in order to be a first team
Crazy.
NBA or have get any of those awards.
Yeah,
Last year, he played
crazy.
71 games. So in his 21st and 22nd season, he's played more. Yeah, that's right. He's played more games in those seasons than he did with the Lakers' tenure. I mean,
Wow.
in his 21st and 22nd season, all of a sudden he's playing more games than he was playing a couple of years back when he had a couple of those injuries that he was playing about 50 some games, or one year he got
Mm.
45 games, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what he's done to maintain his body, what he's done in his career with longevity and just being able to be consistent, his work ethic is just unmatched, unrivaled. And in my opinion, I don't think Father Time is ever going to happen to LeBron. I think he just will bow out and be like, I'm done. Like he's not going to be coming off the bench. He's not going to be average. Like
No.
LeBron's, like he's not going to average like 12 points a game.
No. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he's just not. Like I mean, I think he's going to maybe like he'll play one more season next year, at least with Luca.
Yeah.
And I think Luca will have a career year. Like, he'll probably handle his business and score a pretty good amount. And maybe his points dip to 22 or 23.
Yep.
Maybe. Right. And that's basically
Yeah.
allowing Luca to play up a little bit and probably allowing AR to play up a little bit more and balance those averages out. But I honestly think like he's gonna beat Father Time and he's gonna retire on his terms. And it's almost like Brady. Like Father Time never got to Brady.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they just weren't as good his last year, but Father
Right.
Time never got to him. And he decided to retire and that was it. And that's I mean, if you can do that as an NBA player or as any professional athlete, That's probably the most ideal career you could ever have, is to go out on your terms at still your peak, and at this age is beyond ridiculous. What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, like there obviously will be like an end to this, and I I think you're right in a sense where he'll probably sense it and probably get out before we see a shell of himself.
Yeah,
And so he's not going to be able to play forever. There's going to be a time where he's going to hit a wall, and again, we probably won't see it because he'll bow out, as he said, as you said.
yeah,
And so it's just crazy. He started in 2003, that game against Sacramento, and it's just crazy that just like he's still there. And we like when we think of like we're tossing around all these greats and greats that are playing right now, and he's still amongst that group. Is
yeah,
just amazing. Excuse me. And so I know he's very polarizing. I know there's a lot of folks out there that don't like him. There's a lot of folks that love him, and that
yeah,
just comes with the territory when you're just such a big name like him. But even the ones that hate him have to, geez, I mean, I would imagine have to just respect what he's doing because he's still out there leading a team to a number 3 seed along with Luka. I mean, you saw what he did tonight in the fourth quarter. I mean, he
yeah,
dominated that game on both ends of
yep,
the floor. And yes, there's going to be those times in an 82 game season where he's got a bad night, where he looks a little tired, um, which you got to expect at his age. And so, but those are fewer and far between. Some of those injuries that he had the last few years, like there was that ankle that got rolled, that was a little
yeah,
bit of a freak injury. And so, other than that, he's been obviously pretty consistently in the lineup. And if there's an excuse for someone to not play back to backs and for someone to load manage, it would be him. And to be quite frank, he's not doing it. He's just not doing it. If he's not playing, it's because he's injured.
yeah,
And I think that's something that people don't really give him credit for.
yeah.
They think he like ruined the game and all these things. He's the one that started load management when it really
Yeah.
wasn't him. It was really
Wasn't
the
him.
It was the San Antonio Spurs, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, I mean we can go all night talking about him,
yeah,
but he is defying the odds, and I'm just hoping for just give us one more big run in the playoffs, and
yeah,
we'll let you uh, leave in peace, I guess,
yeah. I mean, I think
or retire in peace.
if he can solidify a fifth championship,
Yep.
um, there's nothing else he needs to do in his career. I mean, he doesn't need to do anything now, but
No.
there's nothing else for him if he's able to secure that, and whether it's this year or next year. But I think he knows it. He knows he has a chance this year, and you can tell by the way he's playing. And you brought up some good points about load management. When you listen to comments by LeBron, like the Lakers over the last couple of years have tried to manage his load, and he's actually and like it started last year when LeBron was pretty much like, "I'm good." Like, remember when he came into the season and Darvin Ham was like, "Yeah, we got him on a minute restriction,"
Yeah,
and
yeah. That
and
lasted like one game, two
yeah,
games. Or
you saw all the starting five Netflix documentary, right? And he was like, "Nah, that's bullshit. I'm the person in the best shape here. I'm gonna play whenever I want to play." It lasted like 2 games, and from that
yeah, I
point
remember
on,
that.
LeBron has pretty much always played as many games as he can, barring some sort of injury, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so last year he played 71 games. This year he's played 68, which will probably be 70. So I'll be back-to-back seasons in his 21st and 22nd season with 70 plus games. Um, and the previous years, I know the Lakers with their staff and who they had kind of in the medical team, they were trying to like manage his time. And for him, his body just doesn't feel as good when you're trying to manage the load and manage the minutes. And it's been proven by stats that load management actually made injuries worse. Like people
Mm-hmm.
weren't
You
strong enough.
mentioned
They
that.
weren't their bones weren't adapting, their muscles weren't adapting as much. They're not getting enough practice time, right? So then they were expected to just take some games off and then just play. So I think he's done a tremendous job of just taking that over and taking ownership of that and really going after it. So you got to commend him.
Yep,
I think he has
definitely.
defied the odds um, um, of just being a he's like a global ambassador of the game, right? So
Absolutely.
He's embodied what it is to be a professional athlete, and you just have to commend that. No matter how you feel about LeBron, no matter what your issues are with whatever he stands with anything, like you got to give him credit to what he did, and it's similar to how Tom Brady took care of his body and was able to play all those years.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's not really been about that load management. I think he's in your school of thought where it's like you got to play to stay in shape and avoid injury, as opposed to like being afraid of it and missing time and not being used to the grind. And so yeah, it's again, it's amazing to see. He's obviously I think he's been a bit rejuvenated too, obviously with the Luka trade. Well, I think one thing, the Lakers drafting Bronny, I think did that as well.
Yes, that helped him a lot.
Yeah, and then of course the Luka trade, it gave him peace of mind that, you know what, I got somebody else on my team that I know I could depend on late in games, and it just AD Anthony Davis, we love him as I said, but he just wasn't that guy for that particular scenario. So, yep, gotta lock up that 3 seed though. One more.
Yeah, man, one more game. So we will be back on Friday after the Rockets game, Lakers Rockets. Hopefully solidifying that number 3 seed. I'll get to a couple. Let's see. My man Cam Miller from New York said, "Hey, so what's up, Cam? We always love you tuning in and
appreciate
some of your questions that you always ask." And then we got on Instagram, we got Dr. Lev, wonderful, amazing PT out in LA, has his own mobile business. So shout out to Dr. Lev. He's always posting on the gram and working with tremendous players. I know he's worked with Rui. I've seen that on there. So he does help out with Rui, which is pretty dope. So love that you guys are tuning in, and we appreciate the feedback. So anytime, send us some questions, DMs, whatever you got. We'll try to get to the questions you got or any topics you guys want to get into. But until Friday, the Hoops Rehab team is out.
Enjoy the games tomorrow, guys. Peace out.
One more.
We'll see you. One more.
Yeah.